We're back with our little alcohol ink friends, and today we're gonna put them on wood. This is going to make one of the most amazing stains you've ever seen for wood. You can do all kinds of colors. The vibrancy that alcohol ink gives for like a wood stain effect is just choice. Here, I'm just going to do a little sample piece on a finished piece of wood that I picked up at a hardware store. So this is like a Lowe's Home Depot deal. It's already sanded. If I had raw wood, I would want to sand it down to where it was a nice, pretty smooth finish. Now, I'm not necessarily looking for it to be slick like those plastic surfaces that we've talked about before. But I do definitely want it to have a smooth finish. Otherwise, it's going to snag everything that I use to put the alcohol ink on. And if it's too rough, it will just absorb and not scoot around. I do need to be able to move the ink so that it's covering the surface. With a finished surface, you also want to look for imperfections. There was a sticker here. I'm not worried about that because it's just a sample piece. But if I put ink over it, and we'll see this in a second, it's going to make a big mark. So if you have something like this, make sure that you've cleared it off, maybe even sanded it down to where the finish matches what you're working on. You also want to look for imperfections like roughed up areas or something like this. This is going to change the way the wood absorbs the ink and you'll be able to see through. Remember, alcohol inks are transparent. These little critters are see-through. To apply the alcohol ink, I'm going to use a sponge brush or a cotton ball. That's going to depend on the surface. Now I can run my sponge brush across or my cotton swab and make sure that it's not too snaggy. If the wood is rough and it's snagging these, they may not be your best choice. You might want to look for something else to apply. I want to avoid a brush because I don't want brush strokes in this. Alcohol inks straight out of the bottle, boop, are really strong. So if I don't want something that intense, I can use a palette, put some 91% isopropyl alcohol in there first, and then just a drop or two of the ink. Give it a little swish. And now I have a much, much lighter version of that color. Remember, these are see-through, so if I have a dark spot underneath, putting another color on top of it is not going to make it disappear. I can also start to see now where these little imperfections are. I love the way it brings out the wood grain. It's amazing. These colors layer beautifully. If I want to add something like a yellow, but yellow and pink, when you mix them together, they make orange. So they're going to make orange here too. Oh, look at that. Oh. So bright, so vibrant, so beautiful. Now, let's take a look at what some of these imperfections do when you put the alcohol ink on. Again, I have my 91% isopropyl alcohol. Here I'm putting in a little bit of rainforest green. This color is incredibly dark, almost black. So I definitely want to lighten it before I use it as a stain. These are so amazing on wood because we're not using water. If we used water, we would risk making the wood swell. And here we have alcohol. So it's not going to change the way the wood is acting. It's not going to warp it. And when it's dry, it's just going to be this beautiful, beautiful finish. So as you can see, It is making my wood grain pop. I love that. This is an effect that is extremely beautiful with these, but it will not cover things like a burnt area. Putting the ink directly onto the wood will make a darker spot. Having it off on a palette where you are picking it up with a cotton ball and immediately moving it, it's going to be helpful to the success of your project. If you want an even coat of color, this is the best way to do it. Now, you may want some areas that are darker and some areas that are lighter. I'm going to have a lightened amount and a darkened amount. Look how dark it is. Oh my goodness. And this is with the alcohol. That's just going to absorb right into the wood. It's not going to warp it. It's just going to be this beautiful, gorgeous, amazing stain. I have to do a little happy dance because it's just so cool. There's also this gold, and this gold will absolutely knock your socks off. I'm putting it on a cotton swab here, and I want you to take a look at what it does on the wood. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The metallics brushed on to wood absolutely look like gold leaf. It's gorgeous. It's fantastic for finishing off edges of artwork and things like that. You can use a cotton swab. You could use a small Q-tip if you're working on something a little more intricate. But these are just gorgeous. You're gonna love this. You really are. Now, if you're working on something huge, really big, and you want to dye the wood, you're looking at a different thing. There is a product for it. It's called basic dye. This is going to be more of a vat dye style. You're going to make a bucket of stuff that you can actually dye a lot of material with. These alcohol inks are going to knock your socks off. I would love to see any project. Happy exploring, happy creating. Let's see what you come up with.